Hello, welcome to Master Your Money Debt. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today for our free Solano Home Assist workshop, Mastering Your Money Part 2 Debt. I want to start by extending our sincere gratitude to our sponsor, Solano County, for making this educational series possible. For those of you who are new to us, Solano Home Assist is dedicated to helping our community members get home and stay home. This reflects our commitment to not just providing you housing, but ensuring you maintain stable housing for years to come. We provide free one-on-one counseling, financial education, and workshops on purchasing your home, eviction prevention, foreclosure assistance, credit repair, and so much more. It is so easy to get started, and I'll be happy to show you here right now. If you start by going to the Solano Home Assist website, you'll get an idea of everything that we can do. On our workshops page, you can find our workshops that are coming up. And if you would like to speak one-on-one with a specialist for free, you can do so by simply hitting the start button, filling out a little bit of information about yourself, and then you select the date and time that you would like to meet with one of our specialists who can help navigate your specific challenges. So thank you again to Solano County for giving us this opportunity to help the community, and we welcome you to Solano Home Assist. So to get started, I need to introduce you to someone who is absolutely amazing. Our expert instructor for today is Karina Cook. Karina is a seasoned CEO and tax strategist, a woman of God, a devoted wife, and a mother of three. Her passion lies in empowering individuals, business owners, and families to take control of their financial futures. As a tax strategist, Karina specializes in educating people on making informed financial decisions, minimizing tax burdens, and building long-term wealth. Her mission aligns perfectly with our workshop's goals to provide you with practical strategies for financial independence while fostering a legacy for future generations. With that being said, let's welcome Karina. And you are muted, Karina.
Hi,
There we go.
everyone.
Hi, welcome. Welcome,
Good.
welcome. Thank you.
We're still in the afternoon hour or morning hour, so good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for being with here today. For those who might have missed it, Karina's last workshop that we did a live stream on was how to budget. And so this is the second part of it. So Karina, what are you hearing from people as they're learning from you? What's the feedback you're getting?
I've been getting really great feedback on really motivating people and individuals to start moving the needle when it comes to implementing some type of strategy. It's very easy to just go with life and let things happen as you're going through life, but really just now being more intentional now that you have the information to apply the strategies that we talk about in these workshops.
Thank you. They definitely motivate me. I feel so lucky I get to hang out here and learn from you. For those of us who are joining us, you are welcome to put any questions you have into the chat. We will be answering them live through the live stream. If you have a question afterwards, you can always email us. We'll make sure we have some contact information available to you. And with that being said, I'm going to turn the floor over to Karina. Are you ready for your presentation?
Yes, ma'am, I am. Well, first and foremost, I want to thank Solano Home Assist for allowing me to be able to educate you guys on this. This is a very important topic, I believe, for every single household. So I'm very honored to have the opportunity to give you guys some of the knowledge that I have and work you through being empowered, honestly, because that is the whole purpose of this, is feeling like you can do it, like it's not too far of a stretch, and making it simple enough for you to implement this in your own household. So thank you, Solano Home Assist. And Nisi, I appreciate the intro. So thank you for doing that. So I don't have to do that. We'll go ahead and jump right in. To last week or a couple weeks ago, we actually covered the first half, which is mainly on budgeting. Like, how does budgeting work? What does it look like for you as an individual? How do you start to map out goals? And how do you determine how much money you have to work with when it comes to budgeting and implementing that? So this week, today, we're going to be going over the second half, which is debt. I think it's really important, and it's a very important topic that aligns with budgeting. You can't budget if you're in debt without covering this. So what we are going to talk about today is understanding what debt is, some strategies that you can take when we're trying to pay off debt, consolidation, and how you're going to increase your income if you need to in order to pay some of this debt off. And what does that look like for passive and long term for you? And then how does that work when they're implementing this into your budget? And then we'll also talk about life unexpected things happening, and then how to prepare for that, planning and saving, and some emergency budgeting funds that you can also use and implement on the way. So I hope you guys are ready for this, and we'll try to get this packed in this next hour or so. So starting off, I actually want to ask you guys, when we talk about debt, okay, when you hear this word, let me know in the chat what emotion starts to come up when you hear debt. What comes to mind? I want to hear that from you guys so I can get an idea of how you're feeling about this. And if you're not in debt, I still want you to participate because one day, even if you're joining this class, sometimes you may not be paying this home in cash. You may actually be trying to get a loan for this, which is debt. Okay, so I have someone in the chat. Vivian says stress. Okay, yeah, it's not a good feeling, especially if you have a certain type of debt, if it's not productive. So that is a normal feeling. Too much of it, Jose says. Okay, sharing with us, and I want you to know you are not alone. This is a very common feeling. Okay. So we'll try to cover that moving forward. So right now, when we talk about understanding debt, okay, understanding what debt is, as we know, there are different type of debts that you can have, and the impact that the debt makes on your life can make or break you, right? And as we see in the comments, there's stress. You start to feel like too much of it. And I think that is, like I said, more common than you think. And some people just don't talk about it enough. And so when we talk about good debt, when I say good debt, I'm talking about something that can increase your current situation, your income, things, maybe you're buying a business or you're purchasing a home, or we have school loans here where you're trying to get education and further education so that you can maybe get a better job down the line, right? And so these are things that we consider good debt, okay? And that is called productive because it's doing something for you. On the other hand, now this is where we have the bad debt, okay? The bad debt are the credit cards, the payday loans, and those are the interest rates are so high that it feels like, it's climbing a mountain to get out of it. Okay. And then we also have auto loans, and auto loans, because they depreciate over time, right? They don't grow. The income or the equity, you don't have equity. It doesn't increase. It just decreases. So at that point, you're losing out on money with a car, and you're still paying a car note when the fair market value isn't the same. So that's why we have this listed as bad debt. And in between these things, it can affect not only the stress level of your personal life, right? This can affect your credit score. This can affect your buying power with you not being able to qualify for a loan because maybe you're in too much debt, or maybe your credit score is a little bit too low because of your utilization and things like that, right? Have you guys ever used money and, or let's say, have you ever used your credit to purchase any productive debt or invest in something that made you additional revenue? Let me know in the chat. I want to know if that has been for you, because we're going to call that productive. Okay. We're going to use that as a advantage. And then think about also like what types of debt has impacted your stress, your peace of mind. And that is that middle lane right there, okay, where it makes you feel like, what am I doing here? Okay, like as far as why am I in this debt? So that is going to be something. And to tell you just a story that I had a client who she wanted to purchase a business for herself, right? She had this dream of doing like a mobile, what was it? I think it was a hair shop, a mobile hair shop, if I'm not mistaken. And to start that business up, she had to put down $5,000. Okay. And so with this $5,000, her starting this business, this is going to help her create additional income. Okay. So of course I'm like, oh, that's good, right? That's a good debt. I'm glad that you have that, right? It helped her with her budget overall, right? Because now she's able to bring in more revenue for that, even though that 5,000 is being paid off, she's increasing her income by thousands of dollars. Okay. So that is what I say when I start to talk about productive debt, just to give you guys a picture of like what that looks like. Okay. And then let's see. Now, the next thing we want to talk about is payment strategies. Okay. We talk about payment strategies because I know I hear very often that it's just too much to pay down, especially if you have a lot of debt, right? Especially if the credit card interest rate is super high. Okay. So I think that, like, for me, I played around with different methods with myself, with other people, as we talk about like what is the best method. And I think it all goes back to your level of comfortability. Okay. There's going to be factors of income. There's going to be factors of gratification. And like, how do you feel? How motivated are you? Are you someone who really needs to see it happen quickly? Or are you okay with paying it down at a slower speed, but using a more aggressive method? So if you guys have heard of the snowball method or avalanche, please let me know in the comments. Put snowball or avalanche if you heard of them, and let me know if you heard of both. I kind of want to see what you guys are. Okay, so Vivian said none of them. I love that, because then we can talk more about that. Maybe this can be an eye opener for like a method that you can actually take that may be effective. And so I think really the snowball method is a good method if with paying the smallest debt off. Okay. So let's say that you have a credit card, right? And maybe it's $1,000 balance. Okay. Well, maybe you have another credit card that is a $500 balance. Okay. Where the snowball method comes into play is you're going to pay the smallest one off first. Okay. The reason why is I'm going to pay the $500 off first because I want to feel like I've achieved something, right? It does this psychological thing for your brain. It helps you feel as though you are winning. Okay. You've achieved something. Okay. Once you do that, it'll allow you to feel like you have a lot of momentum. Like you're like, oh, I can do this, right? It's a very great feeling when you're using the snowball method if you want to see things happen quickly. Okay. So this is that instant gratification that I talk about, is the snowball method. So even if the interest rate is 28% on the $1,000 credit card, well, we're still going to focus on the $500 credit card because we know that you can pay that off faster. Okay. So that is the snowball method. Okay. And so we also have the minimum payment, and we all know that the minimum payment, it can have you in a payment for a pretty much a very long time, where this is where the stress comes. This is where you feel overwhelmed. And this is where you're like, okay, this is just, I'm never going to get out of this. And then it also you're paying more in interest when you do this. So ultimately you're paying way more than you would have originally if you would have just paid it off. Okay. But doing this with the snowball method and the avalanche is necessary. So you'll still pay minimum payments. Okay. But you're also going to put more money down. And we'll talk about that down the line. Okay. So now when we talk about the avalanche, this one is slow and steady wins the race. Okay. This one is, I don't really care about the motivation. I really just want to pay this debt off, and I'm not paying the 28%. Right. So I'm going to pay the highest interest rate. We're going to start with $1,000. Okay. And with this, you get to pay less interest, right? Because we all know you can pay a credit card down. The interest is super high. And it feels like, well, I paid $200 or $300, but about 150 of it went to interest. So now you feel like you didn't really win. Okay. So with the avalanche method, you would be actually paying it off faster. And then the interest rate would feel like a little more, you feel a little more like you're achieving something because you're paying that interest rate down quicker. So I've heard different ways, that you can go about this. I personally always like the snowball method because it just makes me feel as though there's something that you're getting that gratification, as we talked about. So I want you guys, knowing these three, I would like for you guys to write down your top 3 debts and then sort them from the balance, like either balance, right? You can do the snowball or you could do the avalanche. Okay. What the goal here is to find out what method would help you finish this off faster. Okay. So you're going to write down your top 3 debts. If you only have 2, write the 2 down. Okay. You're going to sort them out, and then you're going to sort them by balance. Okay. Which is the snowball. And then you're going to do another one or by the avalanche method. We're going to see which one would get you to the finish line quicker than it normally will. Okay. And I think that is something that you would, this is an exercise that,
yes. Sorry, I'm going to jump in just real quick. So for those of us those of you who are watching, Karina, and I'm so sorry for interrupting, on our watch page, Karina has put together this beautiful budget and debt workbook, and it is on the page. So these assignments she's telling you to do, you can use her workbook. So I know I just completely jumped in and derailed you, but I had to jump in to say, hey, wait, you made a tool for everybody to use. Yeah. It's fantastic. So if you're on our watch page, scroll down. And if you're watching us from somewhere else, you can go to our watch page. There's the link right there. And you can flip through her workbook right on the page, or you can download it yourself. So I'll make that link available again later. And I'm so sorry for interrupting you, but I just had to say, because you're yeah. So thank you so much. Okay, I'm going to shut up and move back to the background. Thank you.
Well, no, thank you, Nisi, because I'm glad you mentioned that, because yes, that is a tool for you guys to use. But during this time together, definitely keep that in mind. So when you're working through this workbook, you have an idea of like, what am I supposed to do with this? And there should be some guidance on there, but this gives you a framework to say, now I'm going to like have a strategy, because this is ultimately a strategy, right? We're going to see which one fits me better or best. Okay. So, and then once you guys do that, I hope that you let us know and what you came up with, because this part is the most exciting part to me. Because then you're able to feel, once you're done with your debt, you're going to look back at this and say, wow, the work I put into it. So, with consolidating your debt, okay, there are multiple ways, and I'm not sure if you guys are sure about these, but there's ways that if you're not just putting money down on it, you can do a balance transfer, right? Some banks and credit card companies may have like a interest rate of $0 for 18 months, or zero interest rate that you would pay us for a whole year, and then after the year we will charge you X amount, right? So this it's an okay way to transfer over your current balance from a credit card to another. okay, at a 0 interest rate. That way you're not paying 28%, you're paying 0%. But I will say, I would advise to these methods, you want to have some discipline there, because what we don't want to do is get from one debt to another. Okay, that's contradicting what our whole plan is, right? So what we want to do is have some discipline, right? To say that I'm actually going to pay this off. I might even pay it off in 12 months. I might be able to pay this off in 7 months, but the goal is to have this 0 interest rate. So everything I'm putting down is going straight to the payments. Okay, so that's a very popular method that you can use if you're consolidating. Okay, and you can do the same thing for a loan. Okay, and so the best thing you can do is get a fixed loan. Okay, a fixed loan. So you would say, hey, I have a credit card debt or multiple debts, $20,000, right? I need a loan for that at a fixed rate, not a variable rate. I don't want it to go up and down. And I don't want to continue to pay different interest rates for all these different cards, because now when you do that, your monthly, credit card rate, your monthly credit card payment may be higher. And who knows, even for personal loans, it may be higher, but the interest rates are fixed. So they tend to be lower than having a credit card interest rate. So that's also a great way to transfer one debt to another. Okay. And some people may also do a home equity loan, right? To pay off right now. The home equity is a little more risky if you can't repay it. And, this is one of those things where I think it will take some careful consideration. It's not something that I would recommend just jumping into because you have equity. I would explore, all options and the less riskier option, unless you're really weighed out everything and it makes sense. So let's say that, for example, let's say that you had a credit card balance of 10,000. Okay. Let's say this credit card balance is $10,000 and you spread this balance across 3 credit cards. Okay. So each of them have a 20% interest rate or more. Okay. So if you have a $10,000 debt between 3 credit cards with over 20% interest rate, tell me, would you guys do a balance transfer? Would you do a personal loan? Or would you try the snowball method on your own? Okay. And I want you guys to think about this, put it in the chat once you get your method, because, you want to remember that there's origination fees. So if we do loans, they may have fees. So you always want to look at ones that don't. Hopefully you have a good relationship with your current bank. And you can negotiate sometimes, not negotiate, but you can, say, hey, I've been here with you for X amount of time, 5, 10, 15 years. Is there a way you can waive that fee? Is there a promotion you have? Okay. Keep in mind transfer limits. You may not be able to transfer that full 10,000, right? Maybe it's only 5, but then is it worth it? Okay. And then you want to keep in mind risk. Okay, with your home equity. So out of these 3, balance transfer, personal loan, or a snowball, and try it on your own, what would you try? Okay, Vivian said none of them. Vivian, let me know if you have any thoughts on like a method that you may have already or that you may have been considering. And then I have used personal loans. So Alice, with you using personal loans, how did you feel? How did you pay it off sooner? Were there areas that you felt like can be improved, or is there a different method that you would try now that you have tried the personal loan option? Okay. And so, yeah, that is one of the things that we can go back to, because I'm really interested in hearing more about what you guys would want to try, from your perspective. Okay, so RN says use personal loan to pay off credit and then ran it back up. Yeah. And that is RN. Now, that is something that is It truly does happen. And that's why I say discipline. Okay. Because it's easy. You still have this other debt here. Okay, that you can use. And when you pay the credit card up, a lot of people go through this cycle of using the credit card again. Now it's at a zero, and then they have debt, and it just a revolving door there. So, yeah. Yep, exactly. Yeah, I think we're all on the same page of when you have that extra debt, you actually start using it over. So sometimes that's why I say sometimes consolidation can also be very hard to do if you're not disciplined, right? Little things like cut the cards up, right? Not cancel the cards. I would not recommend to cancel the cards because that's part of your credit history, but cut the cards up, right? Hide them in the place that you would no longer be able to use it. Take all of the digital off. And we'll talk about this down the line. Like, what do you do? Because some people will revert back to the credit cards because you feel like maybe there was an emergency, maybe you had to purchase something, and now you have this balance here that you can use, and you're like, hey, it's there. So we'll talk about that. But that's why I wanted to hear you guys' perspective, because sometimes just going straight through trying the snowball method or the avalanche method on your own may be very beneficial for you to just get it off. Yes. And Caper Trees said, do you have to use your credit cards do you have to use one time a year to keep it active? Right. And so that's the thing also, using your credit cards to keep it active. I'm glad you made that point, because the goal is to not eliminate the credit card in full, right? The goal is to still be responsible. And like Kate Patrice said, use it one time a year to keep it active. Purchasing some gum, paying a PG&E bill and paying it off the next day, right? Using strategies where you would have the money readily available, but you're only using this to make sure that you're active and you have that credit history. So thank you, Kate Patrice, for mentioning that. Okay, now, we're going to cover increasing your income because I think that this helps when you're trying to pay off a higher balance. Okay. So maybe you are currently working and you're like, okay, I'm paying the minimum. This is what I can pay unless I budget and I maybe move a couple of $100 around. But ultimately, if you're paying thousands of dollars, using these methods, snowball, avalanche, minimum payments, it's still going to take a while unless you're increasing your income. Okay. So I'm a firm believer of budgeting and cutting expenses where they're unnecessary. But sometimes you also have to increase your income to make things work and live the lifestyle that you want and not just be stuck. Okay. So what I would say is we have 3 different ones. Okay. What skill do you have? Think about it. If you're not working a W-2 job only, okay, or if you are, or if you're trying to figure out how can I make more income, what skill do you have that someone else will pay for? Drop it in the chat, guys. What are you good at? Do you do art? Do you babysit? Do you clean? What do you do that you can use as a skill to increase your income? Okay. And this is why I put you in the side hustle. Okay. Because it's not necessarily a business. You're not running it on a day-to-day, but you're like, I need to increase something by using something that I currently already have. Okay. And with that skill, RN, you did Uber. If you can make an extra $200 to $500 a month, okay, that's a good amount of money. Would you do it? Okay. And RN, with Uber, I think you can definitely do that. Right? On the side, have a side hustle. Say, I'm going to pay out a little bit, clean my aunt's house, and do my kids' lawns. Exactly, Vivian. Once you have an idea, okay, of what you need to pay down, then you can figure out, well, what do I need to do with my skills to increase my income to pay this off sooner? Okay. So I think that you'll get closer to being debt free when your income grows. Okay. Budgeting is good, you guys, like I said, but budgeting with options and having more income is even better. So when we talk about side hustles, creating that additional stream of revenue, when we talk about skill development, develop your skills. Maybe you can sharpen some iron really a little bit more so that you can use that, right? Maybe you can get a promotion at your job. Okay. So maybe we can say, hey, boss, I've been doing XYZ. Okay. I created this in the last 6 months, get every achievement that you have done and maybe present that to your boss for a rate increase. Okay. So we're looking to use some low hanging fruit that's already there. Right. And that will help you also get out of debt very soon. Okay. So, let's start to think about that. I think you guys may have some good skills that you can use that you may not be pulling out just yet, or using it for, income purposes. So when we talk about passive income, hustlers gotta hustle. You already know. I love that, RN, right? It's in us, right? We know how to do things that are going to yield profit. And we're talking about things that we're already good at, right? I wouldn't say go learn something completely new unless you have that capacity, but use what you already have, your gifts, okay? Okay, so now when we talk about passive income, okay, you guys put a 1 in the chat, okay? I want you to put a 1 in the chat if you've sold something online. Okay, put a 1 in the chat. Maybe if you've created some content online, okay? Or put a 1 in the chat if you may have thought about rental income. Let me see those ones. Okay, and then I challenge you to think, which one of these passive streams, what feels more achievable in the next 6 months that you can do in the next, let's say, 6 months to a year, 6 to 12 months. What's more achievable for you? Okay. And so, okay, 2. So Vivian, with 2 created content, I'm assuming, right? So we have someone who's sold something online. We have RN and Alice. And we also have Vivian who may have created content, right? And so these are different streams of income, you guys. Okay. We have intellectual property, right? If you are an artist, if you do music, if you do photography, okay? If you have stocks or investments, that is passive income. And for my people out there who said they're doing digital products, that is passive income. Okay. You have ebooks, courses. If you're just selling templates, if you're on Etsy, let's ramp that up a little bit more. Okay. Because the goal here is to create more income to become debt free. Okay. And so for some of you guys, I didn't cover in the last slide, that's maybe selling things out your garage. Let's see what things that you have that you can now get rid of that is no longer serving you, right? It's springtime coming here, or spring is here. So doing some spring cleaning, going to thrift shops and selling the merchandise instead of just dropping it off, right? There's thrift stores that actually take that if the garage sale wasn't for you. So there's ways that you can get creative around this, okay? And Vivian, you want rental income. Well, that's amazing. That is amazing. And I think that can be done. And that's a part of, 1, building wealth, okay? Generational wealth, okay? So I'm all for rental income, right? And it does something on your taxes also. So I'm all for it even more because I'm a tax strategist. So when we talk about rental income, that is one of the things, okay? Good job, guys. Thank you, by the way, for sharing with us. Now, we talk about cash flow, okay? How do you budget and how do you control your expenses. And this is what some of what we covered in our last topic or our last workshop when we strictly went over budgeting and expenses. Okay. We talked about going through and seeing how much money are you bringing in, how much money is coming out of your household to understand what you have left. What's the equity right now? Okay. So, we have the 50, 30, 20 rule, which we covered. And I may have that in the workbook too, if I'm not mistaken. I think there's 2 different type of budgeting ways that you can budget that we plugged into that. So, I want to do a mini audit right now. So let's pause. I want you guys to pull out your phones and think about what's the most expensive subscription that you really don't use. What is the most expensive subscription that you really do not use? And when you find that out, I want to challenge you. In this first week, I'll give you a week to cancel that one thing. And you'll be doing yourself a justice if you have more than one of you cancel it. But I'm just going to challenge you to cancel that one thing that you really are not using right now. And Vivian, gym, there you go. Gym is very popular. We want to work out. We want to be healthy, but sometimes that's what we want. And right now we're not in that season. And I've been a victim of that, keeping my gym membership and not going. And I'm like, it's there. I'm going to go. I've even done it with the app. I think it was the fitness app that we have on an Apple phone. And I said, you know what? I'm going to use it. I kept saying I'm going to use it. And I think it was somewhere around $10 to $15 a month. And I'm like, you know what? I'm canceling this thing after the 6th month. I'm canceling it because I'm not going to the gym. I know I keep saying I'm going. I know I want to, but I have not yet. So when I'm really serious about this thing, I'm going to go, because why waste the money? So again, these are the low-hanging fruit that you guys can do. Okay, so we have Netflix, ESPN, Disney, Roku, all of the streaming apps. Right, Aaron. And so if you're not using them, right, maybe you aren't even a TV guy because you've been out all summer, or this summer you're going to be out. Okay, maybe cancel it. You're not in contract. You can always get this back. But currently, what is the goal? By any means necessary. Okay. Okay, Patricia, I recently realized my husband and I both have some same Netflix subscription for years. Yes. How about a family I know? They had a subscription where I think you have like a tier plan or something. When you're just paying, it's like $9.99, but if you do a family plan, it's $17. So one person in the household was paying the $9.99, the other one was paying the $17. And the $17 family plan, they weren't even using just one person on there for a very long time. So same with you, Kate Patrice. There's things that we're just paying for that we let fly by the wind, that we can actually go back in and say, do I need this? So the challenge, you guys, again, what is the most expensive subscription? Challenge you to cancel it this week. Okay. And then you can plug that into if you attended during our last workshop with our budgeting, going over income and expenses, plug that into the budget, the 50, 30, 20 rule. Okay. Or the every dollar budget. Okay. And now, and if you haven't seen it, you guys, please go watch that replay. It was a very great workshop and it gave you some really great tools. Okay. So, that is something that, when you guys get a chance, I want to hear from you. Okay. Now, when we talk about preparing for life, big expenses and planning. Okay. And I'm going to throw something in here that I don't think that I included. Oh, nope, I did, because that's probably going to be a slide away. Now, when we talk about preparing for life, okay, what happens? Maybe you have kids and you want them to go to college. Maybe you're even in this home assist because you want to purchase a home. Okay. You're starting a family, retiring. there's things that happen in our lives that we need to prepare for. So not only are we preparing for our debt to pay it off for freedom and financial freedom, right? To get that stress and that weight off our shoulders. We're doing it for our life, so to have some wiggle room for things that happen in our life. Okay, that we can now use this here that's taken up wasted space and put it here that's going to yield us something in return. Okay, so I think what I would just put into you guys right now is just kind of think, okay, what are some major expenses that I think I'll have in the next 2 to 3 years? Okay, maybe you're planning to purchase a home. Okay, maybe you're like, I'm actually, maybe I need to actually start digging even deeper into my retirement. Okay, or you're starting a business. That's an expense, a life expense for planning. Okay, are you prepared to do that if it were to be today? How much are you prepared? Okay, so I want to challenge you guys to think about that. Am I prepared to plan for some of these expenses that may come up that are big? That usually takes about 2 years. You have that time, but what if it happened now? Okay. And so when you start to think about that, I would start to put that into your plan. Okay, well, these are some things I want to do, and this is what's going to push me into getting my expenses, my debt taken care of, because I know I'm going to ultimately try to have a baby in the next year or two, and I don't want to have the baby in debt. Okay, so that is one of the things I want. Now, the fun part. Emergency funds, you guys, emergency funds. I love emergency funds because once you realize that you can actually get to this part, it becomes easier and it becomes a game. And I love this part. When I was in this debt thing and I was like, okay, I got to get this together. This was the part that was the best for me because I was like, you know what? I'm going to be prepared. Because now when we talk about how do you stop using the credit cards, I love this. Why? Because if some people you pay off your credit cards and if something happens that you need the money right away. And maybe you already budgeted, right? Maybe you have your every dollar budget that we talked about in our last workshop and every dollar went to something, right? You have no more money left. Everything is allocated to something. Right? Or maybe you're just like, right now wasn't a good month for me to take money out. This is where emergency funds. Why is it important? Because if something happened, you want to ultimately be able to pull from your emergency fund instead of your credit card. So if you had a flat tire, okay, you needed new tires. Well, now I don't have to swipe my credit card for $800 transaction. I can go into my emergency fund and cover that. I can pull it out of my savings and pay for it. Okay. Now with the emergency fund, what you do want to have like 3 to 6 months of what your expenses are. So what is your everyday lifestyle? Okay. What does it take to run your household? Now you need to double that, or, you need to times that by 3 to 6. Okay. And if you can only do 3 now, perfect. If you lose a job, how am I going to pay for my bills? Well, I need to at least have 90 days of income of expenses covered, right? Where I can take this from my savings, cover myself while I'm looking for a new job. Okay. And so you see, guys, income loss, a lot of the times when you have to go back into your emergency fund is because you lost some income. Okay. And now I love this stat because it says what 40% of Americans cannot afford. $400 cannot cover $400 of something. Okay. So another tip I would say is if you guys keep an emergency fund in a high yield savings account that you can be able to take it out. So it needs to be able to be liquid. Like I can pull it at any time if I needed to because I need it for an emergency. Okay. And I would highly tell you not to put this in the same account as your personal funds. Okay. And so we have our in debt first and the emergency. Well, really, you could start doing your emergency fund so that when you start paying off your debt, you're not stuck. Okay. I would challenge you guys. There's a book called Dave, what is it? Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey. Oh my goodness, you guys. It's a life-changing book. And I think this is where I start to realize, I can actually get myself out of this. Total Money Makeover. Yes, thank you. Total Money Makeover. So let's see. I diminished my emergency fund 6 months ago. I'm living day to day and on a credit card, but trying to be smart, like still making payments, barely making the mortgage right now. Exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm so sorry to hear that, Jessica. And I think that, that is one of the toughest things is, when you get in a situation, you're building an emergency fund and then you have to use it and things happen. So it takes longer to replenish that. Okay. And so, Jessica, I would want to say, like, this is the time where I would say, okay, when we talked about the income, and I don't know if you've done it or not, but this is why when we go back to, now I need to go back to square one, right, is to make more income. And, that is a challenge too, if there's like health reasons or reasons why you cannot, right? But that is what I would usually say, okay, how can we increase the income? Because at this point now you need to make more income. We have to figure out either, I don't know if you were here a few slides ago when we talked about using your skill and your natural gift and your talent to increase income, maybe babysitting, maybe cutting lawns, maybe selling something, anything that's going to yield more income, creating digital products and things like that to now start back up. So I would say definitely, it does get very hard, but I would challenge you to say, look at some of those things that you're good at, because right now it will feel like a ton of weight on there. And now you have to go back to square one, but this is why this foundation would ultimately be built. Okay. And then, even here, it falls into the $400, 40% of Americans can't cover the $400 emergency fund, right? So what I would challenge that in this room today, okay, is what small amount can you, in small way, that you can add an additional $50 a month to a savings fund? What small way? $50 a month. And we can start this week, just like I challenged you guys on the last one, which is canceling something this week. I challenge you to find a way to add additional $50 a month to a savings account, because I want you to see that you guys can do this, right? And once you do 50, then it becomes 100, and then it becomes 200. Okay. I think I had one more slide. Nope. Okay. So we're coming to a close either way. And so I want to leave you guys with this, because if you think about it, you guys, if your finances was a story, I had to tell a story, what chapter would this be called? Okay. Would it be called Catching Up? Would it be called Starting Fresh? Or would it be called On the Rise? Think about this. Okay. Because this is something that I would say, okay, what are we going to do right now? How are we getting out of this? Okay. And so to close this out, I had 2 different clients, right? They had 2 different paths. Okay. One person was in debt. And because I deal with that as a tax strategist, people may be in a situation where they want to do tax strategy, but they actually have a lot of debt. And so now they're getting in debt with the IRS. They're getting in debt with their personal things also. And so now they want to start saving when it comes to taxes, but we have to tackle the debt first. Okay. So a client, let's call it client A for, privacy purposes. They had $20,000 a day. That's a lot, you guys. Okay. But everything was ignored. Payments were skipped. The credit score was dropped, and they missed buying home because that was a really great goal that they wanted to do. Okay. They missed that window. The opportunity was not there. Another client, similar scenario, a little bit debt was a little bit higher, but they got into a snowball plan and was very, very aggressive with this plan. Okay. And then not only that, they found ways to increase their income. Okay. Side hustles that they were doing. So I'm telling you guys, because this is our actual facts and actual stories that people have done. Okay. It's not something that may happen in 5 months, 4 months. It may be something that happens in 2 years, just like this client. 2 years later, they bought a home. Okay. They have money left over to buy furniture. So what I'm trying to get here is the numbers still might be the same, might be similar, but the strategies change. The strategies are different, and that changes everything. So I challenge you guys with those two things, which is pick something to cancel this week, and then pick something that can increase your income by $50. Once you do that, I really want you guys to find us on Facebook, and you can find me by using my name, and let us know, what did you do? How were you successful? Let us know your wins. We're interested because we want to see you win. Okay. So I'm going to, cut this off, right? And then we'll move on to any questions or anything you guys may have that we didn't cover.
Thank you so much. Here I am. That was fantastic. And you pointed out all of the things I am doing wrong. I was thinking of all of like the gym I didn't go to, my streaming stuff, my music subscriptions, all of that. And you've really motivated me to go through all that and pare out where I can. I know that when I do, it's kind of like ostrich with a head in the sand. I know that once I start putting it all on paper, I'm going to want to kick myself, but I have to do it.
Yeah.
So thank you so very, very much. This was fantastic. And so for people out there, please throw your questions in the chat if you have them. Also, we're putting Karina's LinkedIn and Facebook apps. They're scrolling on the bottom of your screen. So if you have a question that we can't answer during the session, feel free to reach out to Karina directly, or you can email us at hello@solanohomeassist.com. And this has been absolutely wonderful. Thank you. Do we have anything in the chat? It looks like when you were talking, oh, go ahead.
I see Kate Patrice, $50 a month adds up fast, and it gets you in the habit of saving.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I am fully guilty of that. And every time I get super disciplined and all of a sudden I come up with something that I just have to have, oh, but I can use my credit card. My credit card's my emergency fund. And then all of a sudden, then when a true emergency comes up, then I can't use my credit card because I blew it on that trip I just had to go on or something like that. It's the cycle.
Yeah, I think someone asked too for that. And this is why it's important to build an emergency fund. So yes, you should be building an emergency fund first, right? Because this is a stop to you being able to have to use a credit card for things. And that also means that you probably, if you're using your credit card for things that are, coffee, things like that, well, then that's more of a habit that you need to break. But if there's becoming an emergencies and you need to use that, this is why the emergency fund will be the first point of action. We'll build the emergency fund, right? Maybe you can't build 3 to 6 months because that's going to take a while, and then it's also going to take away from your debt. Maybe build a $500 to $8,000 emergency fund, maybe a $2,500, right? That way you could start pulling a little bit. Something happens. Oh, let me just take it from there, right? And now you can still work on your debt after. So you always want to start setting that up, and that's why I recommend when you're going through these things, it's not just the workshop, it's building yourself up in other areas also. So that's why I recommended in the first workshop to purchase the Dave Ramsey book or look into that. You can also look in on YouTube because they have like the audio on there where you can now look at the way, like directly, how can I go through this step by step? And there's podcasts out there to keep you on point. So I definitely recommend to start looking into those things to help build up your habits, you know.
You mentioned the previous workshop, so I'm just going to bring this up here real quick. So if you go to our website, SolanoHomeAssist.com, and go to our workshops page, you can see the workshops that are coming up. So this first one, that's us right now. So we've got Cortez is coming up with strategies for building wealth. Karina mentioned getting a side hustle and how to raise your income. So that might be helpful. And then if you missed the first part of this on budgeting, Karina is going to be teaching it at the Fairfield Ford Community Room. They're letting us use their space. It's glorious. And that is going to be on Thursday, April the 17th at 6 p.m. You can meet Karina in person. And if you like, once you reserve your spot, there is also in these workshops, there's a place down here at the bottom where you can reserve one-on-one extra time. So you can set aside and get 15 minutes to ask Karina your specific questions. And so this again is all available on our website, SolanoHomeAssist.com. And this is the workshops tab, and you can see everything that's coming up. And we will be continuing to add more workshops as time goes on as well. So Karina, we are wrapping up. Before we go, any final thoughts?
Well, there was a question, one more question. Someone said,
I missed it. Thank you.
For business, I use QuickBooks Xero to understand my revenue and expenses. Is a great tool for personal? Yes. And I would say Mint.com is really great. Mint.com is awesome because you can connect all of your bank accounts and expenses, and they track it for you while you're doing it. And then also your banks, they do that with your banking account already. So they'll show you what it is that you're spending, and they'll put it into buckets. But I love Mint. But to go back to what you were saying, Nisi, all we are trying to do here is create some form of a system. Okay. So even when you're paying your debt down, what system do you have? Make sure that you're giving yourself those wins though, right? Because ultimately you kind of want to feel like you're doing something. Okay. So again, like we talked about in our last workshop, please go watch it, because we talked about when you're doing these things, how do you reward yourself? It may not be going to buy an expensive dinner, but maybe you want to go to the beach to relax and say, I did this thing, right? And then just ultimately keep that goal to the forefront. And work through some of these things we talked about. And I think you guys will be very great. And then also bring out your gifts. Okay. You guys, we all have gifts. We all have talents. Maybe we're working, but maybe we have other things that we can do. Or maybe we can ask for more income in our current positions to make things work in our personal lives. So I'm excited for all of you.
Thank you so much. This was so wonderful. Thank you. For the people who are with us that were joining from Facebook or YouTube or Instagram, if you go to the watch page for this, the budget and debt workbook that Karina was talking about, she has put together this wonderful template for you to track all of this information so you can really see where you're at and where you need to go. So that is available at the link that is scrolling on your page right now. I'm going to throw out another thank you to Solano County. They are the ones behind letting us do this and providing assistance. And if you would like to meet with us, with one of our specialists to go over your specific problems, go to SolanoHomeAssist.com/start. It's super easy. And that being said, Karina, thank you from the bottom of my heart. This was wonderful. And for those of you out there, please feel free to email us, reach out to Karina, reach out to us, and we look forward to seeing you in one of our future workshops. Thank you so much.